Roland had a date with Death, and she was already running late. Pausing by her dresser mirror only long enough to apply lipstick, Sandra gave herself the once-over. The red lipstick was a bit too red, her black dress was a little too short, but part of her felt that a vampy macabre look was the only appropriate attire when one was to meet Death. And it didn't matter that the meeting was a blind date set up by her grandmother. "You're 38, Grams had said the last time Sandra visited. The day was hot, and they were on the back patio drinking Graham's sour lemonade. "You're practically a spinster." At that, Sandra choked. "I'm not a spinster. I have a life. You make it sound like I sit home all day knitting and feeding my many cats." "How are Pickles and Dill?" Graham asked, referring to Sandra's 2 cats. "Look, Sandy, I don't want you to be alone. I'm not going to live forever. I'm not alone. I have my spinster lady cats to keep me company. And don't talk like you're about to keel over at any moment." "I could. Most of my friends have." Graham's face lit up. "That reminds me, I heard there is this lovely Death person that my neighbor, you know Alice? She met Death in a close encounter last week. It was a mild stroke. She's fine." "Well, as fine as one can be at our age," Graham chuckled. "Well, she said that she and Death had this lovely chat before the paramedics arrived. And did you know Death is single? Alice told me, and I told her that my beautiful Sandy was still single. Maybe they should get to know each other." "You want to set me up on a date with Death?" Sandra asked, her voice laced with incredulity. "I'm not that desperate." Turns out Sandra was that desperate. Her last relationship had officially ended over a year ago, and Becca didn't even call for occasional late-night hookups. Sandra had sworn off lanky Icelandic blondes, and then women, and men, and dating altogether. But she had to admit, the loneliness was starting to get to her, and she was talking to her cats a lot these days. "Well, here goes nothing," she said to Pickles before heading outside her apartment. 23 minutes later, Sandra sat in a corner booth at Felipe's, trying to read the menu between sneaking glances at her watch. Every time the bells on the restaurant door jangled, Sandra's head snapped up. Whenever the newcomer was a tall man dressed in black or even just dark jeans, Sandra would start to rise, sure this one was her date. But none of them worked. By the time she got to the drink section of the menu, she wasn't even looking when someone came in, because no one can truly expect Death. "Excuse me, are you Sandy?" Sandra looked up into the apprehensive face of a young woman. Her auburn hair was pulled back, but stray curls frizzed around her face, giving her a slight halo against the backlight of the restaurant. Well, Sandra, yeah, and you? "It's me!" Relief washed over the woman's face, her shoulders relaxing. "Death, hi, I'm Death." The woman gave Sandra a wide smile and stuck out her hand. And for a moment, Sandra could only stare at her. She, Death, was a short woman with berry pink lipstick and cat-eye glasses that framed wide green eyes. She wore a bright yellow sundress decorated with embroidered sunflowers. Death, noticing Sandra's reaction, dropped her hand and slid into the seat across from Sandra, her lips pressed a bit too tightly. Sorry, Sandra said quickly. "I just wasn't, you weren't, I wasn't, Graham didn't mention what you look like." At that, Death's lip quirked up to one side, and Sandra thought the half smile was kind of cute. "Not quite how you imagine Death? Sort of thought you'd be taller. Expecting a skeletal man in a black cloak and a scythe, or at least a lot of eyeliner." Death snorted with laughter, and Sandra exhaled. "You were hoping I'd be a bit more, ooga booga?" Death asked. "I don't know about hoping, but I guess I was thinking you'd be a bit more ooga booga." "Well, I hope this doesn't disappoint you." Death nervously twisted one of her bracelets around her wrist. "I mean, it's kind of unfair that there are all these preconceived notions of me. I am the physical manifestation of a human condition. What exactly am I supposed to look like?" However you like," Sandra ventured. "And it's not like the media ever consulted me before deciding I like running around in a hooded cloak and a scythe. Do you know how heavy those things are?" Sandra shook her head. I hadn't thought about it. "Like really pretty heavy, like in the whole of human existence. I wouldn't have chosen something less cumbersome. Now, something like a pocket knife, that makes way more sense. And it fits into a purse." Death winked at Sandra as she patted her purse. A quilted bag that was definitely large enough for a soul-reaping pocket knife. But anyway, enough about me. It's not like you probably want to hear about all my baggage on a first date, am I right? Sandra tried to smile as Death laughed uncomfortably. "Sorry, I'm really bad at meeting people. I don't usually have to make small talk because usually it's fatal for them. Seeing the horror on Sandra's face, Death quickly added, I mean when I'm at work, only when I'm at work. I'm not some crazy serial killer, totally off the clock now. Hearing her own words, Death covered her face in her hands. Sorry, that came out really creepy.